Hello, Myria. Welcome to the
Hi.
podcast again. I'm so excited to have you on.
Thanks. I'm so excited to be back.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to hear about your third birth because in the last one we talked about your pregnancy, how you switched providers and everything. And so I'm so excited to
Yes.
see how that all went and have you tell everyone how that third birth experience was. But before we start, I just want to kind of just have you recap like about you, about your family and all that stuff. So just anyone that hasn't, listened to the first one can understand where you're at, how many kids you have and all that stuff.
Yes, my name's Mariah. My husband's been playing overseas for 5 years now, and we're currently in Spain. And we were also in Spain last year, but now we're new team, new city. And I have three kiddos, 4, 2, and 9 months. So I spoke with you before about my first two births, one in France, one in Turkey, and then my last baby that I just had was in Spain. So kind of, well, yeah, every birth has been very different. Um, and the prenatal care has been somewhat similar, but different also. But like you said, in Spain, I ended up making a switch of providers because I just didn't feel comfortable and really seen or like that it was a good fit for me with my provider that the
Mhm.
team provided for me. So you actually had helped me do some research and said, did you hear about this hospital and whatever services they offer, what they have? And I had looked into it and realized, oh yeah, this is amazing. I want to give it a chance and just see if I would like it. Turns
Yeah.
out I loved it. It was the best choice I ever made was switching providers, because the OBGYN was a boy, which was my first experience with a male OBGYN.
Mhm.
And he completely spoke perfect English, which was amazing because having that barrier can be so hard and intimidating,
Yeah, for sure.
especially in birth. Because my last pregnancy, that's what I really struggled with. I had hired an interpreter or translator, excuse me.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't have that barrier, but still it's off and it's not, as smooth as it can be.
Yeah.
So, and my new OBGYN that I had switched to in Spain was completely understanding, completely open to whatever I wanted. Made my experience so easy and my experience. And
Yeah.
he was just there to do what he needed to do and support me in any way. We had lots of conversations about that, and I was open with him that my last birth in Turkey was very traumatizing and not how I wanted it to go, and felt like I only had one option.
Mhm.
So I wanted to ask him, like, what are my options? Like, can I just do what I want to do? How will it look if this happens? And he was very open, like, yep, you can give birth on the floor, upside down, however you want. Like,
Mhm.
whatever you need to do, you can do. So I was like, okay, amazing. Like, that makes me feel so good.
Yeah.
So I gave birth on June 7th, um, a few weeks before my due date, or a week maybe. Very similar to my other births. Like, I go into labor so quickly.
Yeah.
And also very similar that my mom had just arrived the day before to help us with the kids and be there for the birth. And so it was the next day that she arrived, and we were just out at the park with the kids. And like I did with my first one, I was doing some curb walking and just, walking around the park while the kids
Yeah.
played when I felt my first contraction.
Okay.
But that first one, I'm always like, I always brush it off.
Was that the first sign you had was like the contraction started?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I always just have like a contraction in my stomach. I feel it.
Mhm.
And then, I whatever kind of mixes me with Braxton Hicks because I get those every pregnancy too. Um, so then we finish up at the park, we go home, and have dinner, whatever, everything's good. But then I start feeling the contractions come back on and they're picking up. I'm having more of them, they're becoming more frequent. And it's nighttime once again. I don't know why. I love to give birth at night. And I put the kids to bed and I'm like, okay, yeah, these are really picking up. Let's time them. So we're timing them and they're, lasting a minute 15,
Okay.
about 4 or 5 minutes apart. And I was pretty scared from my last birth that I would like give birth at home
Yeah.
or I would get to the hospital too late or in the car or something. So I was like, let's go to the hospital. Like, I want to go in. I know I'm for sure going to give birth today, like tonight. I can tell.
Mhm.
So we head in to the hospital and they check me and I'm only like 4 centimeters. And I was a little discouraged because I was like, dang, these are really painful. And I'm only at a 4. Where my last birth, they were painful, but I got there and I was at a 9.
Yeah.
So um they were like asking me questions, like, have you had a baby before, whatever. And I'm like telling them, this baby is gonna be here very soon. I've had a baby before, like I know I'm in like labor and she will be. So they're like, okay, check me in. And right now I'm just dealing with the midwives.
Mhm.
They haven't called my doctor or anything yet. And so we're just in the labor and delivery room. And she told me I can break your water and it'll really move you along faster, or you can just wait this out.
Mhm.
I said, okay. I kind of tousled with that for a minute because I felt like, oh, shoot, maybe I came in too early. And I got nervous of, um, if she breaks my water too early, and then what if I don't continue dilating, or just like, what if something
Yeah.
happens? You just never know.
Mhm.
Um, because I have always had to have my water broke, but I'm very
Usually
usually a lot
further.
more farther. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't know for sure what I should do, but then I just decided let's do it.
Mhm.
So she broke my water. Um and literally in 2 minutes I was on the ball, rocking and bouncing through the contractions because it was just like a huge switch.
Yeah.
Um and that seems to always be my favorite way to deal with the contractions is on a ball. I
Yeah.
find it very comforting and very soothing and just like can breathe them out better.
Did they have all
Um,
that available to you? Like they had the ball at the hospital?
yes.
Good.
So that was one perk I really liked about this hospital is they
Mhm.
had so many amenities,
Yeah.
like a ball, a great delivery room, um, with like, I don't know what you call them, like straps hanging from the wall to hold on to,
Mhm.
like things like that. They
Yeah.
also had the option for a water birth if you wanted a tub in your room.
Okay.
Um, but I didn't, I decided I didn't want to. Um, and it was something you had to tell them beforehand, and I didn't, and I just didn't want to do it. So that was cool, just knowing that that was even an option though.
Yeah, for sure.
So so yeah, I'm on the ball. I'm um like moaning out these contractions because they were so deep and in my back. Um, and my midwife comes in and goes, okay, yep, now you're about ready to go. And so she said, I'm gonna call your doctor. I can tell. And then she called him and was like checking me at the same time and was like, yep, you are at like 9 centimeters.
Yeah. How fast did that
So
happen from 4 to 9 after you broke your had her break your water?
maybe the max 5 minutes. Like
Wow.
it was extremely fast. I remember
Mhm.
she broke my water and we were sitting there. I was looking at Bubakar saying, oh my gosh, I hope I didn't break this too early and I hope we didn't come in too early. To then rolling over and saying, oh my gosh, help me down. I got to get on the ball because
Yeah.
I was laying on the bed.
Yeah.
So then I got off. I was doing that on the ball. Um, and then realized, okay, her head, I can feel her head really low, and I felt the need to push. So I had them help me get back on the bed.
Mm-hmm.
because at this point my legs also were getting tired
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't feel like I could hold myself up. So I got onto the bed, and one position I really like to rock contractions out was on my hands and knees. So I was like faced like the head of the bed and I had my hands up, and then kind of like almost in like downward
Like,
dog.
yeah, like a child's pose sort of,
Yeah,
but like
almost
up.
like a child's
Yeah.
pose. Yes.
Yeah.
And like swaying back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that relieves a lot for me.
Yeah.
And that's when my doctor came in. I was in that position. And so he came in and he's like, "Hey, Mariah, how's it going?" And I'm like, "I've been better, but but we're
Uh,
doing good." He said, "I heard you're ready to go." And I'm like, "Yep." And he was like, "Is this how you want to give birth here?" I was like, "I don't know. I don't think this is it. I think I want to lay back down." So I laid back down. I actually went on more to my right side and
okay.
had my husband holding my right leg, or I was on my left side, and he was holding my right leg,
Mhm.
and was able to do just like two pushes and she was out.
Amazing.
So it was amazing, but I did tear and I felt it and heard it, which is
Oh no.
crazy because I've never really felt the like ring of fire,
Yeah.
but I felt like I felt it this time. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure that's what it was, and so I screamed. And it was very like high pitched and not a low like moan. It was a scream, and that's when I tore.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was super painful, and even my doctor was like, "Yep, it was when you screamed, like you."
You just like powered her out at that point,
Yeah.
I'm assuming, because that's what happens. Like I was talking to my friend that's a labor and delivery nurse about like that's like how to reduce the risk of tearing. And that was a big thing she was saying was when you feel that ring of fire, try to like really just breathe through it and go slow. But it's so hard. Like I know everyone talks about that ring of fire, like you just want to like get through that pain.
Yes.
So, but if you can like just get into your own, somehow like go like, okay, I'm just gonna breathe this out. Cause that's what she was saying was like the biggest thing I see is when people can control that part, they can like that can help reduce the risk. But
And I had known that.
yeah.
And I've
Yeah,
literally
it's so hard to
seen
control.
and read about that. And I have told Bubakar too, I'm like, remind me to just stay calm and
Yeah.
to do low octave
Yeah.
breathing, even when I'm pushing and in those high tense moments.
Mm-hmm.
But I think because she just came, like, it was so
So
fast
fast. Yeah.
and it was in the moment, and I just couldn't. That was like a natural response for me, unfortunately,
Yeah.
which I think definitely went hand in hand in why I tore.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and I was really nervous because I tore up again, which I did that with my last birth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but my doctor did a really good job, like super good job of stitching me up and things that when it came after, I had little to no pain.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes. So I was super scared after to go to the bathroom and like all those
Mm-hmm.
things, but it was no
Good.
pain at all. Yeah, I
That's
was completely
awesome.
fine. Yeah.
That's really great. And like, especially because you had someone that was like speaking English to you also, I'm sure that was like a little bit more comforting than having that big of a tear when you're giving birth to your second in a place and like no one's speaking English. You're like, I don't know what's going on.
Yes. And like immediately he was just like telling me everything that went on, everything that's going on, and like explaining, okay, yep, this is what happened. I'm gonna put like three stitches in. This is what I'm gonna do, whatever,
Yeah,
but you're gonna be fine. Like, here's how we're gonna deal with it for aftercare, things like that. It was so nice.
that's really great. I love that. So,
Yeah.
and I have a question too. Like, I remember with my birth with Olivia in Spain, I was explaining to somebody, like, I think the midwives there are more like our labor and delivery nurses in the US, where like
They
they're the
are.
ones that are doing all of that. And then they don't really have like the role of a labor and delivery nurse the same as we have. Did you
Mhm.
experience that too with your birth? Like,
Yes.
okay.
So I had the midwife that was basically dealing with me the whole time.
Yeah.
She's the one that broke my water. She was the one like always doing my cervical exams, like
Yeah.
checking my dilation, whatever. Um, it was with the midwife.
Mhm.
The nurse, she didn't really do much. She was like there for
Yeah,
me and would get me a new like pad or like the gown or stuff like that, but
yeah,
wasn't really with me directly dealing with me.
yeah.
Um so yeah, it was mainly the midwife.
Nice. I do think it's, like, interesting. Like, I thought it was super interesting at least because I was like, "Okay, I have a midwife and an OB," and, like, I didn't it's not like you pick. In the States, it's like, okay, you pick, like, if you wanna have a midwife or if you wanna have an OB, you know?
Yes.
And
And they were all in the room when I gave birth. Like
yeah,
everyone was there. Yeah,
like, I think that's so cool. I don't know because I loved that, like, the midwife was in there, and then I also had my OB. But then with my experience with Declan in the States, it was like I chose a midwife. So like there was no doctor ever. And I'm thankful I chose a midwife, but it's like, it's just different. Like they're different roles.
for sure. Yeah.
I find it interesting. Um, but so then postpartum, so he stitched you up and everything. And then what was your postpartum experience like in that hospital?
Yeah, so after I gave birth, they do like an hour, I think it was like an hour of skin to skin.
Okay.
So we were in the delivery room for quite a while, I remember. Um, and so then once I was good to go. They did a couple things for baby. Actually, they didn't do anything for baby. They didn't do anything for baby, just skin to skin. Um, and maybe stamped her feet on the little book thing.
Okay.
But um then yeah, we went up to the room, and the postpartum care was actually really nice, as far as like nurses coming in, checking on me, making sure I'm okay, provided everything for me and baby. um they even had a pull-out couch bed for Bubakar, which he
Oh,
was pumped about. He was so excited to actually have a bed.
yeah.
And I remember it was like midnight because I gave birth at like 11:45,
Mhm.
and they didn't really have like anything to eat, but were able to like find me some snacks and stuff.
Mhm.
um and what else did they do? Oh, just provided medication, things like that for me postpartum to make it a little bit more comfortable,
Mhm.
because I really dealt with postpartum cramps and contractions.
Yeah.
Like, I've never dealt with that in my past 2 births, and this one was extreme. Like, it felt like real contractions that I was just having giving birth.
Yeah. Like you were about to
And
birth another baby. You're like, is there a twin?
yes, yes, literally.
Oh my gosh.
So
No, I can't hear you, but I can see you. Oh wait. There wait, no, hold on. There we go. Okay.
Bubakar's mom called me.
Oh, okay. I'll just edit that out, obviously, but just start from. So you were saying something like you were going to talk about the contractions.
Yes. So my OBGYN had warned me, before I even went into labor, in my prenatal appointments, that I will have postpartum contractions. And I brushed it off. I was like, okay, okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
Did he
Wow.
say like because it's your third, or like did he say they're going to be way worse this time around, or what? How did
Yes,
he?
he said because this is your third birth, and your uterus is going to be more, stretched
Stretch out.
out, and it has to work harder to get back down,
Yeah.
that's why they're amplified, and like they're going to be more painful.
Hmm.
So they were very 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 painful. And I was having to take
How
some
long after the birth did they start? Like, did you start feeling them?
immediately.
Okay.
I just remember we were only in the hospital for like a day and a half, and the entire time, I mean, like, it was hard for me to sleep because it was so uncomfortable, especially when I was breastfeeding.
Yeah.
I felt like they were so much worse when I was breastfeeding.
Yeah.
So, and you know that like when you first give birth, I feel like you're like constantly breastfeeding, like
100%.
figuring everything out and trying, to get the latch right. So I felt them like all the time, but I did take some medication to help because they were
Did they,
strong.
what did they give you in the hospital for it?
I don't remember.
Like just like Tylenol or something? Or
I
was it
think
stronger?
I don't know. I don't remember. I don't think it was that strong
Okay.
because
You just could still feel them.
I could still feel them. Like it would ease them a little bit, but they were still there.
Yeah.
So I remember when my doctor came to visit me before I was discharged, I was like, how long are these going to last? Because they are
Yeah.
kicking my butt. And he's like, they can last like a week. And I was like, okay. New mindset because I should have taken your advice before about how serious these are.
Yeah.
But I don't really know if there's like something you can do to prevent them or to make them better, really. I
I
don't
mean, I feel like it's just like managing them with pain medication, like Tylenol and stuff like that. And then, like, I don't know, did you try anything like a heating pad or anything like that?
know. I didn't.
I
But
wonder if that would help. Like, I mean, obviously it's not taking them away, but it's just like things that might like help ease the pain a little bit.
yeah, no, I didn't do anything really besides just deal with them kind of. And I would try to like massage my stomach as if I thought that was going to help, but
Yeah.
I didn't feel like it did. I think that was like one of my biggest takeaways from having that third child was how serious those contractions are after birth. Um, but yeah, but then after that, I was able to go home, um, quickly, and my postpartum was actually really smooth and wasn't too bad at all. Um,
How long did they end up lasting? Like a week, like he said?
it was like 4 days, yeah, four
Okay.
days. I remember them like, and then after that, it was very like random. I would have a couple,
Yeah.
but like the first 4 days were like pretty consistent. I could feel them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
My gosh. Well,
yeah.
I have that to look forward to.
I know. I'm like, I'm so interested to see if you deal with this. Not to
I'm
scare
sure
you.
I'm going to because like you're talking about, like we've talked about, I'm like, oh my gosh, this third baby popped so fast. Like I'm so much bigger than my previous two already. And I'm like, wow, this is crazy. So I can't even imagine. Like I'm
That's
definitely
how
gonna
I.
have,
That's how I felt too. I felt huge. I
yeah.
felt so much bigger, and like you said, like we just had that baby bump immediately.
Yes.
So yeah, I don't know, but as far as like the postpartum care, like bleeding, things like that, it felt like it was like 2 weeks and I was good. Where my other, I feel like I bled forever, or just
Like
was
you
so
were
uncomfortable.
like because of those, because you had the severe after pains, like did you feel like when you were having those, like you were bleeding
It
a
was
lot?
heavier, yeah, and so maybe that's why because
Yeah.
the contractions were so severe that like it
Like you
got
got,
all that fluid out, whatever. I don't know, but that might actually be why.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, the one thing though that I didn't like, it well, I think this has been all of Europe. It's like they don't offer peri bottles, at the hospital,
Yeah.
which I feel like are so crucial for that postpartum care,
Yes.
especially if you tear, when you're peeing and being able to spray water is just like
Yeah.
a
Game
game
changer.
changer.
Yeah,
Yes.
sure. I think that's something super important to like note for people, especially giving birth like over here, is because I've noticed that too. Like they definitely don't always have that available to you. So bringing that with you to the hospital is going to be like
But I
super.
see them at the pharmacy, so like you can definitely get them.
Yeah, you can get them for sure.
But they just don't have them there. Because I remember I specifically asked the nurse that was working if they had one, and she said no. And I was like, dang. But there
Dang.
was a shower, so that's
Yeah.
what we had to substitute with. But I'm like, I'm not trying to get in the shower every time I have to pee. So
Yeah. No. Yeah, that is interesting though. I wonder why they don't. I'm very curious about that because I've heard of like lots of girls have mentioned that they don't have those. And I didn't have that available either after my birth with Olivia. But like
Yeah.
in the States they had it, and
Yes. It's
my
like it comes with the care. Yeah. No, so I think that is very crucial, like especially for the if you tear. So
yeah.
that was a bummer. But once we got home, because I didn't bring it to the hospital.
Yeah.
And so once we got home, I had it and I was fine.
Yeah. How long did you have to stay in the hospital after this one?
I was only there, let's see, okay. I gave birth like 11:45 at night. We stayed one whole day, and then that next morning we were out.
Okay. Oh wow. Okay. That's
Yeah.
pretty quick.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. So I told my
Well,
doctor, I was like, I'm not trying to stay here a long time. Like,
yeah.
I'm feeling really good. Like, the baby's good. And that's the only reason why we had to stay is because she needed to get all the tests and like a shot or like something like that, or the, like,
Yeah.
the little heel prick. She needed to do all those things before we could get out. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I wanna just hear a little bit like just about, I don't know, comparing your three births. Like if there's anything that stands out to you, I guess, besides the things that you've mentioned, like with this one, if there's anything that stands out to you, like postpartum wise, or maybe like during prenatal that you did differently during, one of them that maybe helped you.
So, the first takeaway I will say is educating or like just researching your area, what you want for your birth, and the care you want, and being able to stand up for yourself and speak for yourself and be your biggest advocate of what you want. Um, so making that switch was like so huge and ideally what made my birth, I think, go really well.
Yeah.
Um, so that I would think that's a takeaway. And as far as like what other like prenatal care?
Yeah, or just like, I don't know, anything that you did differently during any of your pregnancies that you felt like
Mhm.
was helpful for you, or ways that you prepared,
Yeah.
to get yourself prepared for postpartum, like things like that,
Mhm.
if there was anything that you did differently.
Yeah. I think for sure staying more active during your pregnancy is key.
Hmm.
Um, I felt like I had no choice with my third one
Yeah,
because chasing two two kids.
for sure.
Um, but also I just felt like I got so big so fast and like it hits you so fast that um being like staying on your feet and moving helped me then transition into my labors and like being able to endure that because it takes so much out of you and it is hard. So that was good, or that was a big thing in helping you have a better birth. I would also say just having everything ready, l- like I have my little Freedom Mom kit. Like that's
Hmm.
the holy grail, I think, of
Yeah.
postpartum.
Hmm.
Um, I lacked with not having my peri bottle at the hospital, but like having those things ready, making sure like when you come home, you're gonna be comfortable, everything's gonna be set up, and it's gonna be an easy transition for you.
Yeah.
Um, and I always have to have a family member come and help me because like that's also key, not even just for me but for my other kiddos so I can focus on myself, like healing and the baby, like just connecting with the baby and my breastfeeding journey, everything like that. That's super important for me. But I think like with the last birth I just felt more educated and very confident in going into labor.
Yeah.
I knew where to go for like I had gave birth at 11:45 at night. So I knew where to go. I knew what it was going to look like. I asked my doctor all the questions even if it was uncomfortable, like
Hmm.
will you let me give birth standing up? Okay, good. Like so
Yeah.
then when you're in the moment you're delivering your baby, you don't have to try to figure out what should I do. You already know my doctor's okay with this, or this is what we're going to do.
Hmm.
That just takes so much off of your mind, and you can just, relax and be in the moment for laboring and dealing with all the other pains and things that come up to your mind and erase all the education and thoughts that you had before.
Mhm.
um so yeah, I think just making it as easy as possible for you and being as prepared as you can.
Yeah.
That's definitely what I did this last birth, and it was a really good experience. So
I love that. I think that's so important and like also something that gets a little bit overlooked. I think I was listening to this podcast the other day about like some ways to lower your risk of having a C-section. And that was the first thing was like finding a provider that is not pro C-sections, and how do you figure
yes,
that out, what kinds of
yes,
questions do you go in and ask them? And that applies to everything, you want
yes,
you and your provider to be on the same page with stuff. And I think
yes.
people do get uncomfortable asking those questions that maybe they feel like, oh, well, like I don't want to step on their toes, I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. No, that doesn't matter. Like you should feel as comfortable as you possibly can. And I think it's so important that you did that and you asked all those hard questions to
Mhm.
him, and he made you feel reassured because
Yes.
then again, like you're saying, you go into birth, you feel so confident and comfortable. You don't even have to think about any of that stuff because you've already had those conversations. And then you can just focus and be in the moment. And I think that's like the most important thing.
Yep.
Uh, Especially because too, like you don't know what's going to happen in labor, So like
Exactly.
when things happen and you've already talked about those things, it makes it so much easier. Like if you've had those
Yes.
conversations beforehand and maybe you and your provider don't see eye to eye. And kind of like what you were saying, it's like you didn't feel very comfortable with the first person you had. So then you switched and then you asked those questions and you felt so much more comfortable. So I think people like we sometimes I think go like tiptoe into these things, and it's like you have
Absolutely.
to be able to advocate for yourself because it makes such a difference.
Well, it can be, I mean, there's so many factors, but like it can be very intimidating. You're
Yes.
in a new country. Sometimes you don't speak the language. My first provider just, the language was not easily there. Um, and then also like you just don't know if it's your first birth, especially you feel like you don't really know what's going on or what you should advocate for, what you should ask, what you shouldn't. So when you have that taken away, when you can just ask questions and now okay, this is our game plan, this is what we're going to do. It's so nice. With my first birth, my midwife, you didn't call your OBGYN or midwife to come in and deliver your baby, but it was whoever was working that day or whatever would deliver for you. And it happened to be my midwife, and I was so happy because I had told her before I want to try to go unmedicated.
Mhm.
And so when I was deep in the trenches of laboring, and I was saying, should I get some medication? She said, well, remember, you don't want to, like, what do you want to do? Do you feel like you need it? And we were able to, talk through it and also stay with the plan that I wanted.
Yeah.
So absolutely. Advocating for yourself and doing your own research and education helps so much.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's so important. Such a good like takeaway too, and for people to know.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess like yeah, I guess that I mean that kind of wraps it up. I feel like really nicely, but I'm just so
Yeah.
excited for your little family. I can't believe it's almost been a year since you
I
gave birth.
know. I know.
Like that's
It's gone
crazy.
by so fast.
That is crazy. Oh my
So
gosh.
fast.
Well,
And
thank you
I,
so much.
yes, of course, you're so welcome.
I'm so happy we got to do this third one because I was like, I feel like we had to wrap it up and just like
Yeah.
see how it went because I think that it was so important that you like switched and you found that like and then when we were talking after you gave birth and stuff, I was like, man, like we gotta go back and like go through this stuff.
This was definitely a very good experience to, I don't know if we're going to end on or not, but like to have compared to my last one, because I was a bit scared, and which made it really put, like, I had so much almost anxiety about it that made me push to switch my provider because I was just so scared to have a repeat birth of being forced, to do it one way and be uncomfortable and painful. And so, yeah, it was definitely a sweet. an amazing birth experience for me. I would go back there and do it 5 more times. Not really, but I
Yeah.
would definitely go back to him. I'm like, I wish I could take him with me to every country,
Yeah.
and just the whole staff, everybody, they were so great to us. Um, and yeah, and that third baby is like so good and makes you want to have more.
Oh no. Having that. He's like, this is the last one. I'm like, oh,
Right. No, Bubakar is the same way. He's like, okay,
we're done.
finished.
That's
It's
funny.
so fun.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I love it. I love that. I'm so happy you guys are doing well, and I'm so glad we got to chat
Yes.
and talk about this third birth.
I know. Thank you so much for having me. I love
Gosh,
talking about this stuff.